Well, hey guys, what's up? What's going on out there today? Hey, Brent Abel here, webtennis.com. Another episode of the Tennis Mindset Project. And yeah, what I've got for you today is a short message, something that never worked for me. Maybe you figured it out, maybe someone else has, but I certainly never did. And that was, can you stop thinking during a match and just play instinctively? In fact, let me get some light on here for you. There you go. Um, Yeah, I mean, I heard that message, that advice, that recommendation years ago, and I tried it. I just tried to go out there and just somehow never figured out where's the switch to turn off thinking, right? It's kind of like, how do you tell yourself don't think without thinking? And then if you can get anywhere close to that, then how do you just play instinctively, right? How do you, whatever ball is played to you, how do you instinctively know here's the perfect shot choice given this situation, given this geometry of where I am on the court in relation to where my opponent is in the court, in relation to what shots have I played recently that maybe he's not expecting, the shot choice that was instinctive, whatever. I tried it and it never worked. In fact, I then sort of got in this thing where I just sort of, was holding on for dear life to try to not think. That was the hardest part for me, was to not think. So I never really got to the instinctive part. I think maybe I tried it a few times and it just never worked out. And, what I eventually came to believe was that I have to be proactive with my thinking, which maybe goes against the grain of what everyone else is telling you, but I had to be proactive in terms of I've got to know what my opponent over there likes, right? I got to know what my opponent over there doesn't like. And today's opponent might be different than yesterday's opponent, and the same for tomorrow's opponent. So whatever your instincts were for one day, if you still have that same instinct on the next day, and yet you've got a different opponent over there who has different strengths, who's got different weaknesses, I mean, to me, it just eventually just made no sense to just kind of leave it up willy-nilly, whatever my brain thought about it as an instinctive shot choice on this incoming ball, just go with it. And what I also found was the more I tried to play instinctively, the more shot choices that kind of flooded into my head on what I wanted to do with this incoming ball. Right? Should I go up the line? Should I go to the guy's body? By the middle, should I go cross court? Hey, am I going to top it? Am I going to underspin it? Maybe I'm going to play a drop shot. Hey, should I play a looper? And it just seemed like those instincts became, here are all your different shot choices, right? That you can instinctively play, making no sense, right? And I just never really committed to one of them. Then I tried going, okay, well, let's try this. Whatever's the first shot choice that comes into your mind, just go with it. And I found that I needed to condition that with, well, that's dependent on my opponent. Look, if my first shot choice, instinctive shot choice, is to play a ball over there to the guy's weapon, let's say he's got a monster forehand over there, but my instinct shot choice is, well, let's go cross court with your forehand. Wait a minute. Now, why would I set this guy up just because that was my instinctive shot choice? It's got to be dependent upon each and every different unique opponent. And look, sometimes going over to the guy's forehand might be the right shot choice for whatever reason, but I've got to be proactive about thinking that all right, I want to avoid the guy's strength. I want to find his average. I want to find his mediocre. Maybe he's even got a weakness over there. So the instinctive shot choice has to be based on that, right? And so is that instinctive? I guess it might be if you've been able to come up with some clarity in terms of, hey, well, today against this guy, which is different than yesterday's guy, I need to have a different instinct in terms of where to play it. And I think that once you get there, once you get comfortable with who's doing what to whom, meaning your tactical shot choice focus is, for me anyway, eventually became proactive. I want to avoid his strength and I want to find a weakness. And a weakness might be nothing more than just something average, right? Maybe the guy's got a backhand over there that's okay, it's average, but we're going to at least work it over there, stay away from the strength. Maybe the guy's not great at moving forward and then backwards. He might be good at moving side to side, but maybe we ought to be playing more drop shots today than we did yesterday based on yesterday's tactical focus, right? So at some point, you have to come up with a game plan as to what you want your instincts to be based on. And for me, I'm proactive thinking that way. I just am, and doesn't mean that since I've decided this guy's not getting a forehand, then instinctively when I get whatever ball I've got coming in, that I don't instinctively play it over his backhand. Okay, if we want to define it that way, that's fine. But in terms of this old thing about can you stop thinking, completely stop thinking during a match and play instinctively as if that's the key to playing great, I just don't believe it. I no longer believe it. I used to. Well, not that I played well when I tried it, but I used to think, okay, well, I've heard that enough. I tried it, just didn't work for me. It just never, ever worked for me. So first thing I want you to do is when against any opponent is you got to probe, especially against an unknown opponent you've never played before. You got to probe to find out what is their real strength, right? They might look great in the warm-up on one side, but once you get the match started, wow, they're really just kind of average over there. They look great in the warm-up because they were nice and loose, but they get a little tight, a little nervous, a little anxious in the match, and that thing that looked great in the warm-up, not so much. So you probe. You probe in the warm-up, and then you probe in the first few games to kind of find out, okay, that's the real deal over there with that side. I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to avoid it. That's now going to become my instinctive shot choice for this match. Number one is to avoid that, and then go look for the next part of probing, which is there a shot weak? Is there a stroke weakness? No, there's not, but his backhand, let's say, it's average, it's okay. Okay, well, where can we move him to be able to say, well, the guy moves great side to side. Let's test to see how good he is moving up and back. So that for me is what works, and that's what worked last year, 2023. I had a dream year, and I got way, way deeper into stop trying to play my game, whatever that is, and start really having some instinctive shot choices based on those two things. What's he great at? We're to stay away from that. And what's he okay at or weak at? We'll just give him a steady diet of that and just kind of see where it goes. So hope that makes sense. Guys, look, if you haven't already done so, highly encourage you, pick up my 4 step-by-step between points routine. Look, the reality is 80% of the time we're on the court, we're not playing points. 80% of the time on the court is spent between points and on side changes. And here's another opportunity for you to, how do you turn off the thinking between points? Really tough, really tough. And how do you turn off the thinking on side changes? Really tough. So for me, it's again, between points. And if you've not picked up this course, it's a free video. It's about a 20-minute video. It's free. It is private. It's over at webtennis.com. Just drop in a first name and an email address over there and you get access to it. But for me, it's a very specific 4 parts between points routine that I go through to really create some shot choice clarity, not only of how I want to start the next point, but also how do I want to continue to play during that next point in terms of shot choice clarity instinctively. Hope that makes sense. Webtennis.com is where you can get that free 20-minute video. Once you get it, dive into it and just practice that thing like crazy, because it'll be a huge difference maker for you in terms of really starting to get a deep dive on the mental skills required to become a much better match play competitor out there, especially in your close matches. Once you start winning a lot more of your really close matches, that's when you start to become a better player. right? This thinking that you've got to sort of play out of your mind. How do you do that in terms of not thinking and playing instinctively? You got to play out of your mind. Just no longer believe that. I just no longer believe that. So you control your thinking. You control your emotions with certain words, with certain phrases, with certain ways. And and I'm very proactive by telling myself or by considering, how do I want to start the next point? Right? I just don't just get the ball and just go up there and just whatever. As I toss, I look at the ball and just go, oh, well, let's go out wide. It's really pre-planned in terms of how to start the point. I no longer think about, well, if I do this, then I'll win the point. Never ever have those future result thoughts anymore. Used to, but I just think in the end that you've got to learn. You got to learn, and it's habituating. You got to train yourself. Excuse me, as to how to be more proactive with your thinking in a really positive way that helps you play more instinctively during the point based on what we talked about, those two things. Keep it away from their weapon, and just give them a steady diet of really what they don't want. Guys, look, I hope this has been helpful today. Down below in the comments area, let me know what's on your mind. Any comments, any questions, remarks, feedback, let me know. Love to read those and respond. Or if you want to keep the conversation private, no sweat, we can do that. Just shoot me an email, brent@webtennis.com. That's it for me today. Time to get out there, guys. Help someone else have a spectacular day. Guys, see you again next time.